All right, so today we're diving headfirst into Palantir Technologies.
Ooh, interesting.
They've been making a lot of noise lately with, well, their stock performance has been pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's been pretty remarkable.
And of course, all their work they're doing in AI and data analytics, really interesting stuff.
Definitely a company to watch, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And, it's not every day you see a stock just surge, like 360% in a year.
Right. And for a company already in the S&P 500, that's pretty wild.
Exactly. So we've got a whole bunch of stuff to look at today to really try and unpack this.
Yeah, lay it all out.
We've got news articles, we've got analyst reports, financial documents, the whole 9 yards.
Sounds like we've got our work cut out for us.
We do, but it's going to be fascinating, I think.
Looking forward to it.
So we'll be looking at this from all angles, the good, the bad, the maybe concerning.
Got to be thorough.
Exactly. So you can really get a clear picture of what's going on.
Love that approach.
All right, so let's just jump right into it, shall we? Starting with this stock performance.
Okay, let's do it.
So as of today, January 23rd, 2025, Palantir is trading around, $72.86?
Yeah, about that, give or take a few cents. You know how it goes.
Oh, absolutely. Always fluctuating.
Up 1.5% from yesterday. Not too shabby.
Not too shabby at all, but I mean, that's just a tiny piece of the pie compared to the last year.
Oh, yeah. That's where things get really interesting.
When you look at the bigger picture, what really kind of surprised you about Palantir's stock performance this past year?
I think what's really remarkable is that this growth isn't just coming out of nowhere, It's being driven by a really solid mix of strong financial performance.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you can see that there's increasing confidence in Palantir's AI strategy.
That's a good point.
It's not just hype.
Yeah, and we see that reflected in a lot of the analyst reports that we have.
Oh, absolutely.
Like Wedbush Securities, they bumped up their price target to $90.
That's a big jump.
It is, and Bank of America raised theirs to $75.
Not quite as high, but still.
Still really significant, right?
Huge vote of confidence.
And they kept their buy rating, too, so they're clearly still bullish on Palantir.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
What do you think is making these analysts so optimistic?
I'm really seeing this growing presence in the commercial sector as a major factor.
Yeah, especially in the U.S., their solutions are really starting to take off outside of, just those government contracts.
Which is really interesting, right? Because for a while, that's what they were mostly known for.
Right, exactly.
So that shift is pretty significant.
Absolutely.
And their Q3 earnings report, that just paints a pretty clear picture.
Oh, yeah, the numbers don't lie.
30% year-over-year revenue increase, hitting $725.5 million, which is just, wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of millions.
It is, but even more impressive, I think, is that 54% jump in U.S. commercial revenue.
Now, that's what I'm talking about.
That really shows, that their solutions are finding buyers who are actually eager to use them, not just, because they have to.
Exactly. They're seeing the value. They're buying in.
So why do you think we're seeing this kind of surge of interest specifically from the private sector now?
Well, I think businesses are realizing that they are sitting on mountains of data.
Yeah, they've got all this data, but
what do they do with it?
right, exactly.
And Palantir comes in with these platforms, like Foundry, which is their flagship product.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
It's designed to help organizations actually make sense of all that data,
So they can actually do something with it.
Exactly. Extract valuable insights, make better decisions.
It's all about turning that data into something actionable, right?
Exactly. That's the key.
And that ultimately leads to a competitive advantage, which is what every business wants.
Of course, that's the name of the game.
So they're essentially providing the tools to turn data into, intelligence,
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Not just information, but actual intelligence.
Exactly. And as businesses become more and more data-driven...
Which they are.
Oh, absolutely. The demand for these kinds of solutions is only going to skyrocket.
It's the future.
No doubt about it.
And it's not just about revenue growth, right?
Nope. Got to look at the bottom line.
Exactly. They're turning that revenue into actual profit.
That's the important part.
Their earnings per share, EPS, came in at $0.10.
Which is not bad at all.
Exceeding analysts' expectations, so.
That's always a good sign.
Yeah. For those who maybe aren't as familiar with, financial stuff, can you explain what EPS actually tells us about a company's performance?
Sure. So EPS, it's essentially a measure of how profitable a company is.
Okay.
It tells you how much profit they're making for each share of stock that's out there.
So the higher the EPS, the better.
Generally, yeah. A higher EPS usually means the company is doing a good job managing expenses,
Makes sense.
and generating good returns for their shareholders, which is what they want to see.
So in Palantir's case, this positive EPS, that's a good sign for investors.
Oh, absolutely. It shows that they're not just growing, they're becoming more efficient and profitable too.
So it's not just hype, like you said. It's actually translating into results.
Precisely. And that's what makes their growth look so sustainable.
Now, before we go any further, let's just take a step back for a second.
Okay, good idea.
Because some people might be listening and they're like, wait, Palantir, who are these guys?
Right, not everyone's following them as closely as we are.
Exactly. So for those who might not be as familiar, can you just give us a quick rundown of what Palantir actually does? Yeah. What do they do, and why are they considered, a leader in the AI field?
Sure. So at their core, Palantir's a data analytics company. Okay. Sure. They build these software platforms that help organizations make sense of these massive, complex data sets.
Right. We were talking about all that data.
Exactly. So they have this flagship product. It's called Foundry, and it's used by all sorts of organizations.
Like who?
You name it. Government agencies, Fortune 500 companies, you name it.
Wow. So they're pretty widespread then.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
I've read that Foundry is being used for a ton of different stuff.
Oh, yeah, all kinds of things.
From optimizing supply chains to detecting financial fraud, even...
Oh, yeah, and healthcare,
Healthcare, really?
Yeah, like imagine a hospital using Foundry to predict which patients might end up back in the hospital.
Wow.
Based on their medical history, their socioeconomic data, even their vital signs in real time.
So they can intervene early.
Exactly. Provide support, potentially even save lives.
That's incredible.
That's the power of what Palantir's doing.
It's like connecting the dots in ways that we never could before.
Exactly. It's amazing.
That's a really powerful example. It really highlights how they're using AI to tackle these really complex challenges and make a real difference.
And that's what gets investors excited.
Right. It's not just cool technology.
It's about real-world impact.
Yeah, they're actually showing how it can be applied to solve real problems.
And that's huge.
Speaking of applying technology, let's talk about these partnerships they've been forming.
Oh, yeah, those are interesting.
SpaceX, OpenAI, those are some big names.
Huge players in their fields.
So why are these collaborations so significant for Palantir? What do you think they're trying to achieve?
Well, I think it's incredibly strategic.
Yeah.
By teaming up with companies like SpaceX and OpenAI, they're putting themselves right at the cutting edge.
Of what?
Of space exploration, advanced AI development, you name it.
So they're not just building technology, they're embedding themselves in those ecosystems where it's going to be used.
Exactly. And that opens doors to some pretty lucrative government contracts, too, especially in the U.S.
It's like they're playing the long game.
Oh, yeah. They're thinking ahead.
And it's interesting to see how they're using these partnerships to, expand their reach and solidify their position in the whole AI landscape.
It's a smart move.
But with all this success, we've got to look at the other side of the coin, too, right?
Right. Can't get too carried away.
There's got to be some potential downsides or concerns. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, one thing that jumps out is Palantir's valuation.
Okay. How so?
Their PE ratio is over 358.
That's pretty high, isn't it?
Yeah, some analysts are starting to wonder if the stock's actually overvalued.
So can you break that down for us? What is a PE ratio, and why is that high number potentially a cause for concern?
Okay, so the PE ratio, it's basically a way to measure how much investors are willing to pay for each dollar of a company's earnings.
So like a price tag on their future potential?
Kind of, yeah. So a high PE ratio like Palantir's, it suggests that investors are really, really optimistic about the company's future growth.
They're betting on them big time.
Big time. They're essentially saying, we think Palantir's earnings are going to keep climbing rapidly, and that justifies the high price we're paying for the stock today.
So it's like, I don't know, paying a premium for a promising young athlete.
Right. It's a great analogy.
They could become a superstar.
Or they could fizzle out.
Exactly. And that's the risk with any high-growth stock.
Absolutely.
If the company's growth slows down, or if they don't meet those expectations, that stock price could plummet.
For the gamble.
So while Palantir's performance has been really impressive, we've got to be realistic here.
Right. Got to stay grounded.
It's essential to approach this with a balanced perspective. Look at all the angles.
Absolutely. Consider the rewards, but also the risks.
Well, I'm definitely intrigued to hear more about those potential risks.
We'll dive into that more after a quick break. When we're talking about these potential risks, we can't ignore the fact that Palantir is playing in a pretty competitive field.
Yeah, that's true. It's not like they're the only ones out there.
Right. You've got those giants like Microsoft, Google, Amazon. They're all pouring money into AI and data analytics.
It's a hot market for sure.
No doubt. So how do you see Palantir's offerings actually stacking up against these big players?
Yeah, that's a good question. Can they really hold their own?
I think they've definitely found their niche, especially in areas like defense and intelligence.
Yeah, they've got that government background, right?
Exactly. And their platforms are known for handling really sensitive data. That's their strong suit.
So they're good at what they do, but can they branch out?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right, because their commercial growth in the U.S. is encouraging, but can they keep that up?
And can they do it on a global scale?
Yeah, compete with Microsoft and Google, who are already everywhere.
Right. It's a tough battle.
It's like David and Goliath, they've got the skills, but can they really take on these giants?
And win.
Exactly.
It's a real challenge for sure.
And, another concern I've heard is their reliance on those government contracts.
Oh, yeah. That's always a risk.
What if those contracts dry up? Or the government's priorities shift?
Exactly. It could be unpredictable, and that could really hit their revenue stream.
Especially if they haven't fully diversified their customer base.
Right. They've been working on it, but it's still a risk factor.
So it sounds like they're walking a tightrope here.
Yeah, kinda.
They've got this amazing track record, cutting-edge technology, incredible growth.
But then you've got the competition, that potential vulnerability in their revenue.
And that big question mark over their valuation.
Right. Is it sustainable?
It's a complex situation.
There's no easy answer, that's for sure.
That's what makes this so interesting, though, right?
Oh, absolutely.
It's a company pushing the boundaries of AI and data analytics.
But facing some serious challenges along the way.
And it's not just about Palantir, the company. It's bigger than that.
Right. It's about the role of AI in society as a whole.
That's a big one.
Huge. As AI gets more powerful, we have to talk about the ethical implications.
The impact on privacy, how to ensure it's used responsibly.
Exactly. Those are conversations we need to be having.
And they go beyond any single company or industry.
This is about how we live, how we work, how we interact with the world.
That's why deep dives like this are so important.
Absolutely. We need to understand these complex topics.
To make informed decisions.
And be part of the conversation.
Exactly. So as we wrap up our look at Palantir, let's recap what we've learned.
Okay, good idea.
So we've seen that Palantir has a really compelling story. They have amazing technology, a strong track record.
They're achieving some serious growth, especially in that U.S. commercial market.
But we've also identified some potential concerns.
That high valuation, the reliance on government contracts.
And that intense competition from the big tech companies.
Can't forget about that.
And of course, the broader implications of their work, the whole question of responsible AI development.
It's a lot to think about.
So the big question is, will Palantir be able to keep this up?
Yeah. Can they maintain this incredible trajectory?
Become a dominant force in the AI era?
Or will they fade away?
Only time will tell, right?
That's the truth.
But what's exciting is that we're seeing this evolution of a potentially transformative technology happen right now.
It's like watching history unfold.
AI is going to reshape our world, and Palantir is right there on the front lines.
And no matter what happens with Palantir specifically, the insights we've gained from this deep dive can help us understand the bigger picture.
Make more informed decisions about AI in our own lives.
Exactly. It's all about awareness and understanding.
So as we conclude our exploration of Palantir Technologies, we want to leave you with a final thought.
Keep learning, stay curious.
And engage in those crucial conversations about the future of AI.
It's up to all of us to shape this technology responsibly.
It's really amazing to think about, we're right at this turning point with AI.
It is. It's kind of a historical moment when you think about it.
And Palantir is right there in the thick of it.
Oh, absolutely. They're shaping the future in a lot of ways.
What do you think is the biggest takeaway from all of this, from our deep dive today? What really stood out to you?
I think for me, it's just realizing that AI isn't some far off thing anymore.
Right. It's not sci-fi anymore.
Exactly. It's here. It's happening now. Companies are using it. Governments are using it. It's affecting people's lives.
Yeah. And that means we have to pay attention, right? Not just to the technology itself, but to the bigger picture.
Oh, absolutely. The societal impact, the ethical questions, we can't ignore those.
It's not enough to just, marvel at the cool new gadgets.
Right. We have to think about how this technology is being used, how it could be misused.
Make sure it's being developed responsibly.
And that's a conversation that everyone needs to be a part of, not just the tech experts.
I completely agree. We all have a stake in this.
And that's why I think deep dives like this are so important.
Why is that?
Because they take these complex topics, like AI, and they make them understandable.
More accessible, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So people can start to form their own opinions, get involved in the conversation.
Become more informed citizens, basically.
Exactly. It's all about empowering people with knowledge.
So to everyone listening, we encourage you to keep learning, stay curious about AI.
It's a fascinating field.
And it's constantly evolving, so there's always something new to discover.
And who knows? Maybe you'll be the one shaping the future of AI.
That's a great thought, so keep diving deep, everyone.
That's what it's all about.